How's it going, guys? It's me, it's Zirkzank, and I'm back with a new episode of Zirkzank Says, and that's is one where I'm gonna say, as much as I want to keep these glasses on, it's like, there's no real cool way to wear these without having the fucking screen, like, blasting back at you, so it's like, it looks kinda lame no matter where I put them, unless I could somehow rest them on my forehead, but I can't. I can kinda keep them up here, so, yeah, this is good enough, whatever. Take them off. They weren't that great anyway. What I essentially need to get to is making a video that is, like every episode of this fucking show, an update video. Not all of them always were. Most of them were just supposed to be commentary on like political things, but like I got really, really bored of talking about politics. The only reason I became quite interested in it at the time was because for a while Brexit was a big thing, and then after that Donald Trump was a big thing. It's like it's all anybody was talking about, so it made sense to want to talk about it like in an online setting, because it's like, hey, this is what people are gonna search about. But it wasn't even from that perspective. It was from the perspective of so many people are fucking talking about Brexit and Trump so much of the time that it's like it's on your mind constantly. It was on my mind constantly. Not that constantly, but you get what I'm fucking saying. It's something you were thinking about a lot. So because it's the predominant thing that I was thinking about, it was what I was making videos about. But then as my life changed so that the thing I was thinking about mostly was social situations and trying to get my dick sticky, just being blunt about it, really. Like, that was kind of what my topic became, just me talking about being an incel. But the point being, it's like I'd just talk about whatever was on my mind, and if it wasn't interesting, and it just, or it wasn't worth watching, in the end, it just seemed like there was no point doing it. Also, yeah, my videos, they stopped being purely for the sake of talking and thinking and making anything productive, and kind of became about me just saying stuff about myself, like I'm literally doing now and have been doing for the first 3 minutes of this video, and will continue to do. But I want to try and do it in a way that it becomes useful or interesting for anyone else who watches. So what I was trying to get back to saying is that I was making videos eventually in a way that made it feel like it was like taking a paracetamol but for your emotions, because all I was doing in the videos was complaining, and having a good complain about something, it gives you like a very temporary fix or a temporary antidote to the struggles that you're experiencing at the time. So if you say, it's kind of like if you stub your toe and you just be like, oh fuck, my fucking toe. I don't know, you have like an outburst, and then it kind of helps it a little bit. Or it's like you die in a video game and you say, oh fuck, I just died. You have to, I don't know, you react to the situation, or you respond in some way and it helps. Or you say to a friend like, oh shit, I just got fired from my job and it really sucks. And they're like, oh man, that sucks. But it's like, it's emotional paracetamol. Or like a Xanax, I guess. Or like ibuprofen. It's not as strong as morphine. May not even be as strong as a Xanax. I wouldn't know. I've not had Xanax. I've had lots of other drugs though. It's kind of what I want to talk about, because in the period of time between my last videos, where I was talking about finishing with university and then coming back to Hull, it's kind of like, it's not that I've not had time to upload videos, it's that when I do, I have to do it at a very specific time so that the lighting's okay, and I also have to upload at a certain time. It takes such a long time to upload videos that it became a real hassle for me to be uploading them. So I'd have to like upload them while I'm asleep, and then I've got to leave my computer on while I sleep, and I don't really like doing that. So making videos became more of a hassle than it was not a hassle. What was I saying? I skimmed over the interesting bit, which would have been like doing loads of drugs and having loads of drug stories, and then skipped to the bit where I'm talking about upload speed. So as you can see, like, my mind has not really been in the correct place for making stuff properly entertaining. So yeah, let me have a think for a second about what else I was going to say. Yeah, so back to the political stuff, because I want to explain that in more detail now that I've come to a realization of why eventually I stopped doing all of that, because first of all it was boring and I didn't care about it anymore. But also it was because for a long time I was thinking, how could it be possible that people could know or go to a stand-up shows for comedians like, I always say the big names like Bill Hicks and George Carlin, who would sort of the red-pilled stand-up comedians. I know it's cringy, but you can bear with me for a second on this, please. The red-pilled people, so they would say stuff like, the government's lying to you, and point out examples of places where the government has perhaps not been as truthful or as honest or as reasonable as they should have been. And other things that they would point out, like every stand-up comedian does this one, which is think of a social situation and then point out areas where the social situation is stupid or predictable, where people are doing things that they know they shouldn't, and then it's funny, or people are doing things, making mistakes, and it's funny. And it's like, hey, here's something stupid that you do every day, like, for example, I don't know, being so invested in materialism. For it, that's a very vague example, and it's still along the line of the red-pilled kind of thing, but it's like, comedians would just point out that, hey, by the way, you're worrying over nothing. So, for example, like, I can't think of examples. That's why I'm not that interesting to listen to, and not very convincing. But you get what I'm saying. Comedians would say these things. It's like, by the way, there's this thing in your life. You're doing it this way. You could be doing it this way. And because I'm just a comedian, it's like, whatever. People would laugh at it and agree with it in the audience. And I always said this. And then they just go home and then go back to trusting the government and go back to just living their life, making the same mistakes. And I was like, as stupid as that is, I eventually realized that I'm in a similar situation where I'm constantly watched. I've watched all of Jordan B. Peterson's videos, and I've watched a lot of videos where it's people talking about, if you feel like your life's shit, here are some things that you might be doing wrong, and here are some ways you might want to fix those things. And it's like, I even have that information like thoroughly understood in my brain, and I'm pretty well aware of all the things that I'm doing wrong. Because when you do something wrong, you know, because you feel bad about it, and a lot of the time it's like your own conscience is kind of just signaling to you. It's like, yeah, by the way, you shouldn't do this, and then you do it, and you're like, yeah, well, told you so, and then you suffer the consequences for it. So your own brain does tell you, and it's not difficult to figure out the stuff you need to do and stop doing. It's just that I personally haven't, and it makes sense now why so many people don't. Because even though people think they want solutions or whatever, if you're like me, you're just not particularly motivated enough. And this is, once again, not me complaining. This is me just saying, like, yeah, fuck it. I've had... It's like the saying, having pearls cast before swine. If I put myself in the situation where I'm a swine and I have pearls of wisdom being cast before me. In fact, right, take away all of the like advice shit and just think about what a computer is, what internet access is. Internet access is access to all of the information you have about fucking anything. You could learn anything you want to learn from the internet. But instead, what do? I sit in front of my computer, I play games, I listen to music, and I browse pornography and masturbate to memes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not really a it's not as optimized or as efficient of a lifestyle as you might want, but it's like, it's what I want. And I came eventually to realize, like, yeah, the something along the lines of the discomfort that I get from trying to improve my life, it can be very discomforting. So, for example, there was a time period where I was like, hey, you know what, I'm going to stop masturbating, I'm going to quit watching porn because it's bad for your psychology. And it's like, yeah, even if it is, it doesn't matter because I can still function whilst watching porn and masturbating. Like, it doesn't affect my ability to function. It's like I still passed university whilst doing that, and I can still maintain social relationships with people whilst doing that. And if I think about it, like, everything I've ever done has not been as noticeably or visibly influenced by quitting porn or not quitting porn. So it's like I was just making myself unhappy by thinking, like, every time I was like, you know what, I'm bored, I kind of just want to watch some porn right now, and it's like, no, you shouldn't do that, you're trying to improve yourself, don't do it. And then I would just have conflict with myself, and I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't do this because I'm trying to find out the benefits of fixing my psychology and improving myself. But it's like, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking care. It's like, in 2018, fucking everybody watches porn. And you got to think, actually, I actually realized this earlier. You can't actually trust anybody who doesn't watch porn. Because then I started to think in my head, how would I categorize somebody who is not into pornography or actively opposes it? And it's like, they're all dodgy people. They're all really, like, really weird people you wouldn't want to talk to. It made me think, like, oh yeah, I don't want to be someone like that. And everyone I know who is actively against porn is kind of a weird person that you sort of wouldn't want to associate with. So it's like, yeah, it's very normal. And okay, stuff being normal doesn't necessarily mean it's good or acceptable. Like, for example, smoking was normal, but enough people did it. But it doesn't matter. Like, socially speaking, doing the normal thing might seem boring, or if you're an edgy person, you don't want to be doing the normal thing. You don't want to be doing what everyone else is doing. You want to be doing something different if you're edgy. But, you know, half the time you got to just say fuck it and just do what everyone else is doing because it's easier, and you can still get by, and you can still be unique whilst doing things that everyone else does. Like, for example, smoking. As much as I opposed smoking for like the first 20-something years, however old I was before I smoked a cigarette, it's like, I would just say, yeah, it's retarded because it increases your chance of getting lung cancer, and it's bad for your throat, it's bad for your lungs, it's bad for your mouth, it's bad for your skin, it's just bad for you in general. And after a while, I was like, you know what, I already don't care about my health that much anyway. I thought I did, but at the end of the day, I don't that much, because I think the enjoyment aspect that you can get out of going out socializing, for example, drinking every weekend, I would say drinking every weekend is stupid to do, and people who drink alcohol are stupid. That was my opinion in the past. It's like, no drugs, no smoking, no alcohol. People who need that in life are just stupid. It's like, well, actually, after doing it lots, you come to realize, like, maybe it's just an extension of nihilism and apathy, but it's like, you might as well, because as cynical as I get, the more cynical I get about life, I guess, the more I can justify doing destructive things. And in the end, it's like, as long as you aren't actually, if you admit to yourself that you're not actually going to be doing anything productive or useful, it's like, for example, if I was Elon Musk, which I absolutely know I'm not, which is why I'm saying this, I'm saying, like, if I was in a position where there was a lot relying on me and a lot resting on me, I would then maybe reconsider, like, yeah, a lot of people rely on me for their work, and I'm doing a lot of things that it would be better if I was in good health. So if I lived for longer and had a better quality of life, it would help people a lot more. You think, yeah, that would be the case if you're Elon Musk. But then if you're someone like me who has basically nobody relies on me, nobody depends on me, in fact, nobody even loves me, so it doesn't even matter, really, what happens to me physically. And none of the damage that is going to happen from drinking every weekend or smoking is going to be that bad. It's like, yeah, you might get lung cancer, and yeah, your IQ might drop constantly. It might age you. It might give you bad skin. Might give you a bad liver. Might give you like diabetes. There are tons of health problems that are associated with it, but it's like the alternative is for me, like the alternative is not, hey, if I wasn't drinking on the weekend, I would be programming an AI. It's like, if I wasn't drinking on the weekend, I'd be sat in my room doing nothing. So it's like, oh well, you might as well go out and do something. If your alternative is not going to be productive, you might as well do the non-productive thing that's fun. And even if it is a bit harmful, you say it's worth it. But then it gets to a real weird situation. Like, is it worth it? So far, for me, going out drinking every weekend has been worth it, because I've met lots of good people. I'm deadly serious. Like, everyone I've met has been a good person. Pretty much. I mean, obviously, everyone's gonna say something every now and again and do things every now and again, but it's like everyone I've met has always been nice to me constantly, and it's enjoyable to go out drinking. And then to add to the sort of situations where you go out and meet people and hang out with people, it's like, yeah, you'll do that if you go out every weekend. You'll do that even more if, when you're at a club, you go out into the smokers area and then you actually have, you're away from the music, you still have a lot of energy and everyone around you has a lot of energy, but it's a lot quieter so you can talk to people, and you have the mutual ability, I guess, to stand around smoking. And there's some weird social thing about when you stood around smoking that I don't know, it feels like a good time to have good conversation, and you do. So it just adds more and more layers to the levels of socialization you can do. I mean, and having more experiences. So, for example, how I've just justified going out more gets you more socialization. But it gives you more experiences, so you have more stuff to talk about, more things to compare. And, like, the same applies to smoking, and the same applies to doing drugs. Like, the more drugs you do, the more experiences you have. And the more experiences you have, the more information you have about the world. I guess that's one cliche way of putting it, but you just have more stuff to talk to people about. Might not be that interesting, but it's more topics. So, like, I know a little about a lot of topics, and so the more stuff you have, the more you can, like, weigh in and contribute. But yeah, I found that a lot of the time when I was a lot younger, I used to, like, really heavily like playing with toys and building things, and toys like Kinects, and I would say like Lego. I never had Lego, but if you can't think of any other toys, just think of stuff like Lego, building things with that, building things out of cardboard boxes and whatever. That's what I liked a lot as a kid. Then when I got older, I got really invested in games and computers. But now, as I've sort of less like that, I've become really a lot more interested in people, socialization, and the mind. I really do hope that's temporary though, because it's made me a less productive and less, what's the word? I don't progress myself as much. So, like, for example, since leaving school, I haven't been learning a lot of stuff. And learning is what keeps the brain sharp. Since I stopped learning things, my brain's, like, deteriorated a lot. It's been bothering me, but it hasn't been bothering me that much, I guess. But it's bothered me a lot. But essentially what I've realized is that when I was smarter, I was a lot more interested in things. And now that I'm dumber, I'm, like, becoming closer to, like, the average person. My IQ has dropped, like, a huge amount. So I like a lot more music than I used to like. And I like socializing a lot more than I used to. So I got to experience what being smart was like for a while. And then my brain is just completely deteriorated. And now I got to experience what being closer to average is like. And it's like, by comparison, my life is still I could still complain about it. Obviously, I'm not going to, as I said before. I'm saying, pointing out, if you have any similar experience to me, then you would find it interesting, I guess, to hear this being the case. But yeah, since this video is like 20 minutes long, I'll make another one after this where I talk about specific interesting experiences. But overall, yeah, what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm just trying to come to the terms with the fact that doing what you want to do and living by impulse isn't really that bad as long as you're still getting by. Like, as much as I think it would be nice to be a really productive person who actually writes and does stuff, it's also not that bad to be less productive, and I should feel less bad about it. I know maybe I shouldn't feel less bad about it, because feeling bad about it was not motivating me. It was just making me feel bad. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, all that would happen is I'd feel bad for not doing something, and it wouldn't make me do it. Like, for example, I bought a fucking guitar to learn how to play, and I haven't done it. And so it's like, I could feel bad about not learning to play it, and that would make me want to learn, but it doesn't. Like, feeling bad about not doing something doesn't make me want to go and do it. It's the same thing with, like, when you're in fucking university or college or school. You have homework to do, and you feel bad about procrastinating, but feeling bad about procrastinating doesn't make you want to go and do the work. The only thing that makes you want to do the work is knowing that the deadline's about to approach, and the consequences of that would be worse. Like, you can always deal with feeling bad, and that's what I've always felt. Like, you can deal with feeling guilty about it. Like, it's really easy to feel guilty. And honestly, the more you do it, the better you get at it. So I'm really experienced at feeling guilty now, which I shouldn't be. It's not a good thing, but it just means, like, I can easily say, like, fuck, don't care about that, because I don't really need to. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, I just own it. Just do it. As long as you're not, like, fucking living on the streets homeless, you should be fine to just live by impulse and do what you want. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was, like, self-hate, because it seemed to a lot of people like I hated myself. And what I wanted to point out was that I don't hate myself overall. I do think that a lot of the things that I've achieved and done are impressive. I'm just saying, like, it could be more impressive, and that you should always be looking for the flaws within yourself and then focusing on fixing your flaws. But that's actually not even what a lot of people say. What a lot of people say is, like, you shouldn't focus on the stuff that you're bad at and try to improve that. You should focus on the stuff that you're good at and then get better at that. So there are, like, two different approaches to it. My approach has always been, like, hey, if I suck at socialization, maybe I should get better at socialization. But instead of being like, for example, it's like, hey, I'm really good at maths, as an example. I'm not. But it's like, you could say, hey, I'm good at maths, and then just get better at it and better at it, rather than saying, hey, I'm good at maths, but I'm not good at talking to people. Maybe I'll just get better at talking to people, because what you end up doing is just getting yourself to be above average in a bunch of different areas, rather than excelling in a single area. And both have their advantages and disadvantages. But all I'm trying to say is, like, I'm not really good at doing fucking anything. I don't have an area of speciality anymore in life. Like, my brain has not got its, like, focus where I'm like, yeah, top percentage of anything. It's like, there's no longer any game that I'm really, really good at. There's no longer any, like, say if I still did subjects at school, there would no longer be any subject that I'd be really, really good at. I'd be just average at every subject. Well, I'd be above average at every subject, but not the best at any subject. So I'm in a real shitty position, I would say, and I would judge that as a shitty position. But then anyone who's in a worse position than me would judge what I've got as to be great. It's like the whole kind of, let's call it like looks and charm thing. People say to me, well, some people say to me, oh, you're quite attractive, or you're pretty funny, and I say, I think like, yeah, I know that's true, but it's like, I think, well, yeah, but I could be funnier, or I could be more attractive. So like, for example, if I worked out more, or if I had better skin, for example, I could be more attractive. So it doesn't matter if somebody says to you, you're attractive, because then you're thinking of ways that you're not. And like, everyone does this. And it's kind of I always think it's a good thing, because you look at problems and then try to fix them. You don't just be like, yeah, I'm fucking hot, and yeah, I'm the greatest. It's like, yeah, I'm the funniest. That's a bad way to think, because you're just going to stagnate. And it's like, hey, maybe you're in a good enough position to stagnate. It's like, hey, you're really smart, and you're like, yes, I am really smart. And then you just stick with that mindset where you have that kind of self-confidence, but you're no longer improving yourself. So I always think that not wanting to improve is a bad thing, but because I personally don't improve at all anyway, I'm thinking it's probably better to just get over the fact that I'm not going to improve. I'm just going to stay the way I am and keep doing that. But enjoy doing it, which is what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to do stuff like that, just enjoy doing stuff like that, rather than going out, for example, going out on the weekend, but then feeling bad about it, being like, oh, this is really bad for my health. It's like, oh, I'm going to regret this in a few years. Oh, I'm going to regret this in an hour if I get too drunk and then hurt myself or something. You're going to regret it. But it's like, nah, just enjoy it more and enjoy life more. It's what I've learned as I have had more opportunities to enjoy life more. It's just like, yeah, fuck it. It's worth enjoying. And also, I do always have in the back of my mind that, like, by the time I'm like 26, 27, maybe 28, I can procrastinate my self-improvement. I can just be like, say, like, get to 28 and be like, alright, I'm 28, I'm going to sort myself out now. Of course, it's always better to start sooner, but if you can already let go of the guilt of not starting earlier and just say, like, right, I'm gonna take more responsibility, but I'm gonna do it in the future, because why not? I would rather have lots more fun now while I am having fun and while I can, than like start being miserable straight away. I don't know. I really don't think it would be that miserable to force yourself to do something, but like, whenever I started forcing myself to try and play the guitar, I always just found, like, I started saying bullshit reasons to myself why I shouldn't continue. It's like, well, guitars are not ergonomic. It's not comfortable to hold. It hurts my back to sit like this, and the strings on the guitar are too close to each other, so it's like, they're not ergonomic. Therefore, learning to play them is kind of just stupid, because you could pick a better instrument, and I don't know, come up with really bad excuses why not to continue doing it. And the same was with, like, quitting porn. It was just like, I don't want to quit porn, or I don't want to force myself to try and play the guitar. I'll just do it. I'll play the guitar when I feel like doing it. I'll do a little bit of practice when I feel like practicing. So far, I mean, obviously I've not had that mindset at all, so I've not touched it. But living life in a way where you do more stuff, like when, hey, I'll play it when I feel like it. You're not really being you're not being a dick to yourself. It's like, yeah, you might get a lot less stuff done, but the stuff you do will be enjoyable, and you can enjoy your own life more. You can enjoy being yourself. As bad as that sounds, it's like, yeah, you could look at flaws within yourself and then try to improve those, but if you're going to be miserable doing it, you're probably going to be miserable afterwards as well. Like I say, changing yourself to do, if you have to force yourself to do things, even if you benefit from them, you're not going to enjoy the benefits because you're still forcing yourself to do shit that you don't want to do. And that's kind of what I came down to conclude, which is that it's not worth doing stuff you don't want to do, because there's never going to be a point where you justify it. So do the stuff you want to do to get where you want to be. Don't try to get somewhere you want to be by doing it a different way, or by doing other things that you don't want to do. I don't know how it took me like a very long time to come to that conclusion, but it kind of did. And since it has, life has become a lot less stressful. In fact, the reason why my life is a lot less stressful right now is because I'm fucking unemployed. Actually, have not been working for like almost a month now. So I've had a lot of time to sleep, relax, and enjoy life. But I'll talk more about that sort of stuff in my next video, because I think that makes for entertaining watching, especially if you've been following this show for a long time. It's funny to watch like my mindset when I started the channel and throughout life to getting to this point. I think it's funny because I know me, and I've known the past versions of me. I don't know the future versions of me, but at this rate, anything's fucking possible. So, let's wait and see. Could be interesting.